It's time for Recipe of the Day. Did you watch the show Glee back when it was on? You know, they have those mashups where they take like two songs and mix them together. I think they do it in the Anna Kendrick movie Pitch Perfect as well. So that is for singing and music, but we also do it in the kitchen all the time, right? And so today, to celebrate the almost weekend, I have a perfect, fun, delicious mashup for you. It is buffalo chicken meatballs. So we're mashing up buffalo chicken and chicken meatballs that are baked in the oven. These are so good. There is buffalo sauce right in the chicken meatball mixture, and they're tossed with it. And then there's some ranch dressing going on, kind of like, you know, buffalo chicken wings. You just have been like ranch or blue cheese. You could totally sprinkle some blue cheese on these as well. You can take this in any kind of buffalo chicken or meatball direction, right? So you can just have this with some celery and carrots and maybe some French fries, kind of like you're having wings, but they're meatballs and you're doing that for your Thursday night dinner. Or you can take it in the more like meatball direction and have it on spaghetti and buffalo chicken meatballs. Sounds pretty great, right? Okay, how do you make these? I am telling you about this recipe, and as I go, I am giving you some of my favorite meatball tips, which you can apply to any meatball making that you're doing, not just these mashups. So like I said, these are baked. So you are going to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I really like baking meatballs, especially if they're going in a sauce. I don't find that they need to be pan fried. Certainly not the having to stand there for a long time monitoring something on the stove. It has to be pretty amazing and make a big difference for me to want to do that. In this case, if I do want that little browning and crust on them, but I'm baking them, I put them under the broiler for the last couple minutes, and that gets some of that caramelization going. So totally done in the oven. No pan frying going on here. Oven's at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The recipe says to line a baking sheet with parchment paper, but if you're going to be using the broiler, you might not want to do that because parchment paper can burn under the broiler. The only reason the parchment paper is there is to help them not stick to your pan. So if you don't use the parchment paper, they might just stick a tiny bit, but probably not that bad. Either way, whether it's the parchment paper or the pan, you are spraying with cooking spray. Then you're mixing together 2/3 of a cup of buffalo wing sauce with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Now, buffalo wing sauce does already have butter, or well, the store-bought stuff has like butter flavored oil in it. You're adding more, and the real butter is getting mixed in there, and it just adds a little extra layer of richness. So mix those things together, set it aside for a second. Then you are doing one of my favorite meatball tips. So we know that whenever you're making anything with ground meat, over mixing it is going to make it tough. And that's because all those little like shreds of meat, the strands of meat in your ground meat, those are getting all smushed together and made smaller and smaller. And that is what makes them tougher. You want them to have that looseness still. That is what makes them juicy and tender. But when we're adding all kinds of ingredients and stirring, then that's breaking those up, and that's what's making it tough. So our goal is to mix things together without over mixing. And the best way that I know how to do that is to mix everything else together first. Make sure you know that it is all well combined, and then add your ground meat. And then it just needs a little bit of a mix to get thoroughly combined with those other ingredients that you know are fully distributed and mixed at that point. And then you don't have to mix it as much, right? So you're going to get a big bowl, and you're going to measure in a 1/2 cup of plain breadcrumbs, an egg, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of that buffalo sauce that you mixed with butter. Mix that all together until it's really well combined. Then you're going to add in a pound of ground chicken. You could use ground turkey. You can use ground beef here too. I'm just using the chicken because it's buffalo chicken meatballs. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, you add in your pound of ground meat, and then you're using your hands to just sort of turn it all around in that wet breadcrumb seasoning mixture, right? Turning it all around until it's just mixed through. Don't overmix it. My next great meatball tip is to taste the mixture. But of course, you don't want to taste the raw meat, right? You want to know if it's seasoned well enough. You want to know if you like the flavor, but you're not going to taste the raw meat. So what I do is I make a tiny little meatball, and then I flatten it down, and I put it on a microwave safe plate in the microwave for 10 seconds at a time until it's no longer pink in the middle. My mom does the same thing on the stove. She just gets out a little skillet and she just fries that little patty. And then once it's cooked through, you taste it, and then you know if it's seasoned enough. No guessing going on. You can add more salt, but whatever you do add, don't overmix. Sort of sprinkle it very evenly over the top of your whole bowl of mixture, and then just gently fold it in, okay? Now your mixture is ready. You're going to form that into 1-inch balls and put them on the baking sheet. I always turn on my kitchen sink faucet before I start working with raw meat like this, just on a trickle, because if everything starts to get sticky on my hands, I can rinse them off and the water stops things from sticking. Too much wetness on the hands, though, can make it hard to shape. You're kind of trying to find a balance between that meat being sticky enough to hold together, but not so sticky that it's sticking to your hands. You see what I mean? So get that faucet going, and then you're making 1-inch balls. You're going to get about 20 to 24 of them, and you're arranging them evenly on your baking sheet, and then they go into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're no longer pink on the inside. Like I said, if you want a little browning on there, you can then turn on the broiler for a couple of minutes, get them sort of 6 inches from the heat source, brown on top. You can flip and brown the other side too. That works. And then you are tossing them with the rest of that buffalo butter sauce that you made. Get them all nice and coated in there, and then drizzle them with ranch dressing, or you can serve the ranch dressing on the side. You can put all that on pasta. You can have it with French fries. Anything is going to be delicious because we've got that amazing mashup of two of our favorite things, buffalo chicken and meatballs. How could that be bad? Okay, I'm going to put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is January 23rd of 2025. And I'm going to ask again, if you have not already, please go and fill out my Recipe of the Day podcast survey. I know so many of you had already, but I want to get as many responses as I can and really find out what you want from this show. What kinds of recipes do you want me to do? What kind of guests do you want me to have on? What topics do you want me to cover? So head over to cookthestory.com/2025cooks and let me know what you want to see on this show. It's a really quick survey. I really appreciate it. And thank you if you've already done it. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.